Welcome to Journey to Service. I'm William Laddick, and you were having a quick view there of a scenic little spot where Randall Kaiser is hanging out right now. And Randy, welcome to the show. What are we looking at?
Well, this direction is the 14th Street Bridge on the Bow River. I'm on the Bow Trail side, and on the other side over there is Memorial Drive. And down here where we're going to settle into is 10th Street Bridge.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna get myself a chair.
Yep. You get yourself comfortable. I'll let everyone know that we've been doing this now. This is episode number 26. We've done 26 shows now. We began back in spring, and we just thought, you know what? Now that this mayoralty thing is real, we gotta start talking so people can figure out who this Randall Kaiser guy is and why is he running for mayor. So check out some of the past shows if you can. We are now starting to get a little bit more attention, and I think that's probably growing every day. I know Randall's talking to a lot more people on the streets these days. I've seen a lot more videos. So how has that been going for you, Randall?
Oh boy, is it ever fun. I mean, I kind of expected this is where we'd end up, is getting other people involved. I'm not in this because I'm some kind of egomaniac that wants to rule over the city or any of that garbage. I'm here for the people, as we've always said, William. And, those people have some beautiful opinions, and I'm up front asking them for their opinions. I'm not asking them for their votes. If they choose to vote for somebody else after chatting with me, that's up to them. Everybody's got a freedom of choice thing going on here. Other than, some of the silliness that's going on that we can chat about later. But it's a beautiful day here in Calgary. Like, I wanted to show you the colors. Like, I know Vancouver's probably getting some color to the trees out there too, but here it's just stunning with the yellows and oranges and a few reds here and there. It's just incredible, brother.
It looks wonderful. It looks like a beautiful fall day in Calgary today. That's for sure. For me, it's just a challenge to get out the door these days, but it's a little gray here today. We're getting used to our, fall and winter colors, which is gray with more gray, followed by a little bit of gray and some wet gray. You can throw that in there too. But, for those that like really mild weather and can handle rain, you can't beat that. So, each to his own. And that's just like what you said, each person has their own choice, their own freedom, their free will. They can choose whatever they want. They can choose a job or not choose a job. That's one thing that is also free, and we all have the power to choose what we want to do and what we don't want to do. And that's just the way things go. I want to move into a whack of questions here that I'm probably going to be a little bit clunky with here because I haven't really pre-read them ahead of time, but we had a great response from a gentleman who actually lives out in my area, but he's been starting to watch our videos. His name is Mark. And he kind of responded back because near the end of our show last week, I was kind of pushing you a little bit, Randall. I was saying, hey, what about Joe Average? What about what it's like for him? What to him an MT 103 doesn't mean a damn thing. I mean, what does it mean to him? How is that going to be, important to him? So I'm just going to read it right off the list here, unless you have something you want to say to that just before I ask you the first question.
Well, talking about MT, it's just a beautiful example of how deceptive this whole banking system is at these upper levels, right? And how much of a game it was for those who manifested the process to start with. So the two letters MT, as in medium term note, they call it down in the United States, and bonds, they call it here in Canada, for the public. Okay, this is public level banking, is where they bring in the money for these so-called corporate governments, right? So down in the US, it's even more pushed in your face, an empty note. There's nothing there. Nothing there to back it, okay? We've got a lot of that kind of nothing there going on these days with this other thing that we talk about too. 2,622 elderly people, 80-year-old average here in my province, that have succumbed to conditions related to the problem, okay? And the problem being a big problem because I can't even say what it is on YouTube or I get banned. And there's another problem for you. So out of 4.5 million people, 2,622, bless their lovely souls, have passed. I love every one of them. Does that make this a pandemic? Not a hope in hell, William. That is just propaganda and paranoia at the most utterly insane level. So just that MT 103 was where I was at. So I'm sorry I kind of drifted again, but we'll do that and we'll drift back because William's a good man at roping me back in. Thank you, William.
Yeah, well, plus, you're on the water there, so you're kind of drifting a little bit and you come back. I was thinking, the funny thing is I was thinking about a little game we used to play in the school grounds back in elementary school. One kid would come up to you and say, hey, point to your head and just say the following letters, repeat after me, M-T, and just keep doing that. And then you go faster, faster, faster. And just, before you realize, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, you're not funny. So it was a silly little thing, but there you go. First question for you that comes through Mark. You talk about leadership. You've said that in your videos, your recent videos on your channel, and you say what we need is leadership, not more politicians. And when you say leadership, what does that mean? You say you'll lead the citizens, but the question is how, and what does leadership mean for Joe Citizen? What would that mean for the average Calgarian?
Well, as everybody is starting to become well aware of, language is very important to me. And you used one in there that I don't really agree with, and that is citizen, okay? We are the people, the men and women on the land here in Calgary. That's who we are. We're the living people. So they need leaderships. They don't need politicians that are going to just, battle with each other over the ridiculous notion of socialism versus capitalism, or I'm going to balance the budget. They don't even do the math themselves or even start doing the math themselves to think in terms of a budget for a city this size, and then start to question things like, okay, well, the provincial government pumps a bunch into infrastructure programs. The federal government pumps a bunch into infrastructure programs. Where are they getting that money? Is it all taxes? If it's taxes and 40% of the population, 40% of the working class of this nation works for the government, okay? 20%, you can just look this up. It's very simple. Now we have Google. 20% of the working class works for the federal government, okay? Another 20% works for the provincial level government. And then we've got the municipal level. And then just think for a second again, how many more people depend on government contracts out in the private sector to function, okay? So how many taxes are you collecting from that 40% of the population? How much taxes do these big corporate entities pay, okay? How much taxes do big businessmen even pay? I know I was in business for 30 years and I paid very little taxes because it was all able to be written off. That's the way most people function. So budgets and these guys that are talking about, oh, I can balance the budget, that's all politics talk. Leadership is this, okay? Leadership is, I'm going to stand for the people of Calgary in front of provincial and federal leaders and world leaders, okay? And ask some very poignant questions like, okay, wait a minute here. We're in debt. We're in debt to who? Who are we in debt to? When we brought those bonds forward, I know the banking business. I've been in the banking business for about 5 years at the upper levels. I'm not talking retail and wholesale banking. We're talking about credit manifestation, okay? Where credit manifestation happens. So I'm going to lead people into that realm of questioning these so-called authorities above this sovereign municipal level, because once we get into that municipal level and I'm the mayor, the people are going to become sovereign human beings in my mind. They are already in my mind. They're not just citizens. They're not, entities out there with numbers and words on them. They are people, living people, and they need leadership. So that's where I think leadership comes in, William, is to lead them to ask questions of these upper level corporate entities like the provincial government, like the federal government, which are not sovereign, which don't even recognize the word sovereignty unless they kowtow to some sovereign queen who is no longer, okay? She no longer has any authority over this nation, never did. It's the people, we the people, and this is your leader.
Now I'm thinking, okay, one of the things that I know that I question personally is when people do things like protest, is it's great to protest as far as saying, you know, we're not satisfied with what's going on. But I think what we've discovered and learned in the present day is that if you're complaining to the powers that be about changing and they're not changing, even though maybe even the majority of people want to see something different, then isn't that almost kind of like preaching to the choir? Like you're not making a dent, you're not making any changes because you're trying to get someone to change the system that they have no interest in changing. So rather than kowtowing to them or asking them questions or going to them and saying, please, can we have a different system? How can we come from a place of empowerment to empower the people of Calgary, thanks for the correction, the people of Calgary, so that they can not only be sovereign, but live as sovereign. And as far as like, I don't know how you would deal with the provincial and the federal governments besides questioning them, but you have your city to take care of and the people of the city to take care of first. So my thought is, what can you do and set up in Calgary so that Calgary can not only feel abundant, but actually live abundantly, forgetting about the federal and provincial government for now? What can Calgary do? What can you do as a leader of Calgary to help Calgary live abundantly?
Well, William, a couple interesting things there. We said kowtow, and then I was thinking Cowtown, because this used to be called Cowtown, right? And it surprises people sometimes now because there are so many different cultures and different people in this city. I walked up to the Northeast the other day, and walking around there with a cowboy hat on gets you a little bit of looks, I'll tell you. But so bringing me back to your question. Okay, so the challenge with these corporate entities, and a corporate entity like the municipal district of Calgary, right? It's a municipality right now, is that they're all structured in a pyramid, right? And the pyramid goes up. There's the next one is the provincial, and then the federal government, and then this so-called crown corporation with that queen, right? And in that, the only way that you can get any headway in the kind of conversation I'm having, and I'm not bringing in what I'm doing privately yet, okay? I'm just going to try and answer your questions today. I know that there's changes happening in the world, okay? Moving from this corporate structure into a more level playing field for the people, where there's going to be access to funding for so many things. But we'll set that aside because these questions are important for the average person and average people, okay? And I'm not playing the games like Justin Trudeau. We're not peopling, whatever the hell he said that day. Like, that was just insanity. I mean, what I'm saying is that person still relates to the corporate entity, the citizen, the civilian, but people is who we are, living men and women on the land. So when you put a living man in that position of leadership in this city, that's the first step, okay? That's the first step, realizing, and a man who realizes what that is, coming in from the common law jurisdiction into this legal jurisdiction, working with and not against, okay? So will we be able to make changes and to structure instantly, like wipe out taxes and bring in comfort for everyone? No, William, we're not going to be able to do that instantly until this other structure starts to fail. And it's imploding as we speak, don't get me wrong. Everyone knows that there's problems with this corporate government structure, this pyramidal structure that we've got. So it is failing. But in the meantime, what can we do? We can just start with some basic truth and some basic human rights. and some basic reality, some common sense as to what's truly going on, and have a mayor in that position to speak to that and not argue with anybody about, what we're going to do with our budget or how we're going to pay for the green line or all the stuff that these other politicians are already arguing about, making fun of a human being like myself. I've heard them already making fun of me. Well, that's fine. Go ahead. Call me a, what do they say? Conspiracy theorist, that kind of stuff. Conspire means breathe together. Take off your bloody mask. Take the diaper off your face, Mr. Politician, and breathe with me to plot for the people. Okay? Because it's plot as well. Conspire can mean breathe together or plot. Okay? Let's plot for the people. Plot out a new playing field. And let's get busy. Because it's going to take some work. Don't get me wrong, William. It ain't going to change overnight. But it is in the process of changing already. So just accept it, move along with it, and we'll go to the next question. Or if I haven't answered that one completely, let me know.
Well, the couple of things come to me there. One thing I realized as you were answering that question is the key word for me was pyramid. You said that we have a pyramidal structure right now, and what you were saying seemed to imply to me that you basically have to start the process of deconstruction in order to tear apart what currently exists and create a new structure where sovereignty can truly flourish and exist. So, in not just in the individual, but in the structure of how the city operates and even beyond the city, perhaps. So, first of all, just for a little education for the viewers, can you define a little bit more about the pyramidal? Like, how do you see it? Can you define how that is when you say that, just so that people know what you're talking about?
Well, I guess, again, we think of how a municipal is under a provincial, is under a federal. So, that alone starts to lead to some kind of a hierarchical structure, right? And then under a queen, if you want to go up to the crown corporation, right? And corporation is the key word, like they're all corporations. There's no sovereign leadership, no sovereign administration of this nation. It's a corporation that last week was voted in by 20% of the eligible voters of Canada. Okay, 20% is, or a little bit less than 20% is all it took to put a man who should be arrested rather than elected into an office of prime minister, prime ministering to the crown corporation and some fake queen, ministering to her, right? So you can see that this hierarchical structure, if not using the word pyramid, then hierarchical would be the word. So when I say less than 20%, that's based on facts, okay? 58% of eligible voters in Canada went to the polls. I had a question from a guy who got kicked out because he didn't have a doctor's exemption. He can't have a doctor's exemption. They won't do that for him. So he had a legal exemption from a lawyer, tried to go in to vote because he's challenged. I will put it that way. I don't want to call him handicapped. He has a wheelchair, but he can't do those things that the government wants to force him to do. So he has a legal exemption. He asked me, am I going to be able to vote in the municipal election? Because I couldn't vote in the federal election because they wouldn't let me in the door, even with his exemption. So, if that's not wrong, right from the bottom of this whole structure, there's, people, come on, it's wrong. Like that we're playing these kind of games, and it's just games in this hierarchical structure, right? So, hopefully that helps with the idea that it's a pyramid. Maybe hierarchical is the better word.
Yeah, no, I think pyramid, it's more visual. So I think that for a lot of people, I think they'll get that. And I got it. I just wanted to know, I guess, if, yes, I didn't understand that it goes from municipal to provincial to federal to the crown and so on. So I was aware of that, but I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything in that you were also thinking that wasn't communicated just by calling it a pyramidal structure. So I think we covered that for sure. You do bring up a huge concern, actually. I don't know if it troubles you as much as it troubles me, but to hear that someone was not eligible to vote because they wouldn't let him vote because of the exemption, that to me sounds like discrimination. And that also sounds to me like a great way to control an election. So we know where you stand, around this whole jab thing. And is it possible that only people who have received jabs can vote in the Calgary election? Do you think that could happen?
I don't know. Like, it's amazing to think that could happen. And I don't know yet. Like, we're going to find out. I did a little interview with Busker James, and he's the one that asked me that question. And I'm going to find out this week. I'm going to start asking people. I'm on my way to another do that they really promoted, and maybe the mayor will be there, because the ex-mayor, sorry, Nenshi will be there, and I can ask him outright if he wants to talk to me, which I doubt. But if they have this concert set up just up the hill. I'm on my way down there. Actually, I'm going to go after the show. And what it was promoted as is that only people that have their passport can come in. Only people that have their passport can come in. But come on down, let's party. Isn't that insane? Like, it's not the people that are driving separation. And the idea that they use the word protest or anti this or anti that, all those people that are saying this, and like myself, are saying, this is my temple. I choose what goes into my temple. I treat my body with ultimate respect. I fast and I eat healthy food. I haven't had a cold or a flu, which is all that's going on since this whole thing started. Okay, I haven't had one because I choose to respect my body, not a pharmaceutical product in it for years. And I don't have any interest in someone telling me or forcing me or coercing me or conning me or paying me, which is all the things that the government is doing to get people to do this because they think there's a problem. What's the problem? Did an interview with a young man yesterday at one of the rallies where the police officers today said to me, there's 1,600 people out. We got to watch out for these guys. And I'm saying, well, I was there and there was a hell of a lot more than 1,600 boys, and it was peaceful and it was loving and it was wonderful. So thank you very much for keeping the peace, because that's your job. Not your job isn't to force people to do anything. It's just to keep the peace. I love you. It's just incredible the problem, action, solution. Bring up a problem, whether it's a problem or not. Force the people to do something and then say, okay, let's join hands and all get together and be loving again, like some of these goofball politicians that are wandering around with diapers on their faces. Come on, folks, let's all get together. We win together and all this. Together with what? Because you get your way, because you think that you've mandated a bunch of stuff, a bunch of crap, and forced a bunch of people to do stuff like this, put things on their face and things here. It's just insane. However, all of that is changing. We needed to get this far, as our friend Lee says to us. We needed to squeeze that rock harder and harder and harder. And when it gets squeezed harder and harder, what happens? In the end, it becomes a diamond, okay? So the diamonds in the rough are the ones that the police officers are taking pictures of and taking videos of at these rallies, these peaceful freedom rallies, okay? That's what they are. They're not anti anything. They are peaceful freedom rallies of beautiful people. And those are the diamonds. They are going to be the people that help not only those police officers, but everyone else out of this dark point in history, okay? Boy, that was getting a little out there. Sorry, brother.
That's okay. I could feel it too. I'll be honest with you. Here in Capilano City, as you like to call it, I'm seeing it big time. And, I won't waste the viewers' time on the show talking about it because it's not related to really what we're talking about here exactly. But yeah, it's painful, and I'll leave it at that. I have so many more questions I want to ask you. Okay, so something else that Marks brings up is, so I'm Joe Calgarian, but I got no job. I got no money because of the COVID shutdown. The economy situation has kind of left me that way. And you say there's no debt. So how can I get some credits in my account? How can I possibly, get some of the abundance that you've been talking about? How is that possible?
Well, as the leader of this city, I'm going to go to these levels of government that are hierarchically supposedly above, if they exist. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm putting that scenario in for the sake of the public right now. Okay. By the time October 18th rolls around, I see some huge changes coming, some changes that are going to blow people's minds. But let's just bring it into context and say, how can I get something out of it? Well, your leader is going to go to these provincial and federal politicians and the Bank of Canada governor, a position that I actually put my name in for, believe it or not, as a banker for 5 years in the upper realms, knowing every bit as much as the governor of the Central Bank of Canada knows, and more, or knows that he doesn't want to tell people, okay, about credit and about bonds and about how that credit and how those bonds are manifested. Okay, I'll go to those people as well and say, look, you manifested 300 billion. I know for a fact that that manifestation happened due to autographs and agreements, not due to the fact that there's anything to back it. There's nothing to back that $300 billion other than the people of the land. So if you're in debt to anybody, you're back in debt to those people. They're not in debt to you. Don't give me that bait and flip switch bullshit, okay? So I'll go to those people and I'll say, look, if you're continuing to say this is a problem, then we need another $30 billion. Okay, we need another $50 billion. And we need that to look after those people right now because they're still suffering. Not into the corporate pockets, no more into the corporations' pockets, okay? They can deal with what they've got for now. The people of Canada are still on the streets. Like the young man said to me yesterday, he said the number of people sleeping in the grass is growing in Calgary and growing in every other part of this nation because the programs that they put in place with the 300B that Justin all of a sudden manifested due to the problem isn't enough, okay? So that's what your leader will do for you if it comes down to that. On the private side, again, that's totally separate. But on the public side, what this leader will do for you is go back to them and say, don't give me that fucking bullshit about debt. You go and make some more bonds, manifest some more credit, okay? And get it into the hands of the people that need it.
The question of the day, and it's a big question, but also a small question because it's only a couple of words. But we've been talking, you and I on these shows have been talking about it for not weeks, but months now, about something happening, something amazing, almost miraculous in a sense. And yet nothing from the public view from our level has really changed. What we've seen instead is more restrictions, more crackdowns, more control, more lack of choice, seemingly. So the question that I have is when will this change? You just mentioned that you imagine that this will be different, by the time we get to October 18th. That's only 4 weeks away as of tomorrow. That's not a lot of time. Are you really seeing that change, that big change is going to happen between now and then?
Brother, I see it. And I mean, people that look for it see it. Like I know you see it in your research. And that's what I'd coach people to do is get busy and do some research. This Mark fellow obviously does some research. Maybe people should contact Mark, see what kind of research they can find from him. But that's the truth. Get away from that mainstream media that keeps pumping this whole air into the balloon, right? Keep blowing it up. Guess what? Eventually, if you blow it up far enough, it's going to pop. Just like if you squeeze it hard enough, you're going to create a diamond, okay? And that diamond is not going to go anywhere. And this is one of them. And I'm not calling myself a diamond as in, pretty. I've been squeezed enough, okay? And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to just kowtow. I'm going to cowtown.
He's going to be a true Calgarian and live up to the name of the nickname of the town. That's awesome. Well, obviously, I imagine that you can't pick an exact date or anything like that, but you are still confident that based on the research and the things that you've been doing, and I know that you've been doing some things behind the scenes that you probably can't talk about too much yet, but you still firmly believe that some big changes are on the way.
Brother, just no doubt in my mind. Like I say, to go into the details of the contacts that I have, the D1 higher than the T1, T2, T3 private trading platforms. If I start using language like that, I'll lose people. So the two D1 trustees that I spoke to today, or in the last week, sorry, that are trustees for quantum banking systems, okay? There's more than one quantum banking system that has the potential to flip the switch on this whole thing. All of these are based on moving to an asset-backed system once again, okay? And whether that asset-backed system brings in all of or a bunch of the off-ledger accounts again that are backed by gold, silver, precious metals, or if it just flips it like what it did for the Federal Reserve. When we had the Federal Reserve started, there was a certain amount of asset backing, okay? And then if people realize the language that I'm going to talk about here, fractional reserve lending, okay? A fraction of that reserve is held, and then you can lend 10 times or 12 times or whatever times more based on that fraction, okay? That all started 400 years ago by King Henry III, I believe. I'm not sure of historic and names and stuff like that can all get twisted, but that's how far back this goes. This idea of fractional reserve lending, not a loan, okay? Lending based on a fraction. So where the heck was I?
Well, we were talking about when it was going to happen, and
okay, yes. So that's the challenge, William, is to think in terms of when all the time, and we're in that mode, right? So the past is whatever we believe it to be, and it keeps proving to be that. The more we look at history, the more it is whatever we believe it to be, because it's all been such a bunch of bullshit. Everything we've been taught in school about history, you and I, is complete utter nonsense. There's these ideas that they pump through our head in that Rockefeller education system about history are complete nonsense. So that's the past. The present is where we are right now, here and now. This 3D, if you want to call it, three-dimensional plane of existence, this beautiful river, this existence of you and I in their physical form, these two mammals, these two males, that are talking here on video, eye to eye. And then we think about the future. And the future is where everything gets balled up because we want to predict it. So does everybody want to predict it? Yes. Do governments want to predict it? Of course. That's what their role is, to govern the mind, govern the prediction of the future, right? What it's going to be like. This is where spirituality, and you know me, I'm not a religious character, but I'm very spiritual, and spirituality comes in. And that's where the idea of when is now, okay? Because the only time that's real in a spiritual sense is now. Otherwise, you're going into a man-made manifestation of the future once again. And so many people on alternative media get caught up in what if? Oh, well, they're saying that this is going to happen, and they're, running down the mainstream media, but they're still predicting a future. Why predict anything but a positive future? Why predict anything but a positive future? There's no point. So predict a positive future, act in the moment, in the present, read a little Neville Goddard or whatever, because that's the kind of people that I learned from, the kind of gurus, if you want to call them that talk about this kind of process of living in the moment. Eckhart Tolle, okay, a Canadian man, just beautiful to read documents or books of his. Those are the kind of people that you don't need to do anything, but I offer people to look at that when they think about the future. So when you act in the moment, be present, enjoy this beautiful position that we're in, and not buy into a future predicted and coerced by government, then you are truly sovereign. Then you are truly divinely, naturally activated. DNA, your DNA kicks in, divine natural activation. And you can relax, take a deep breath, eat some healthy food. Just think about loving yourself and loving everyone around you. And then things start to unfold for you. It's a state of enlightenment, if you want to call it that.
So to me, it sounds like what you're saying is we first of all, in the past, we've come from a place where let's face it, we have put ourselves in a situation where we've depended on government, at least some of us have, where we say, okay, government, what are you going to do for us? What are you going to, but it's always sort of in a subservient way, rather than coming from a powerful place. We say, what can you do for us? Please give us something. We need this. But it's not from a powerful way in saying, we are the people, we want you to do this. So what I think I heard in your last answer, and I'm hoping you can confirm it or, speak to this, is that part of the changes that we need to see that will come in the future, which we cannot predict because it doesn't essentially exist. And since we only have now, what I think you're kind of saying is that as an individual, you need to claim your sovereignty. You need to be able to find your power in order to claim what it is you ultimately and truly want. You can no longer see yourself as getting something from the government because the government's giving you something. It's more of, I'm a powerful, sovereign human being. I want to create this kind of a life. Government, please do this and fulfill this as part of my wishes and the wishes of all of the other people that I live with here in this city. How does that strike you? Is that relatively accurate?
That's very accurate, William. And the only thing I'd add to that, probably, beautiful words, brother. Thank you very much. You're assisting me with the people because your incredibly talented, bright mind offers opportunities right with what you just said. I don't have to add to it much if you don't want, but I can add the words responsibility to that. We give up our responsibility rather than our rights. We just hand it over to someone else to govern us, And in the case of the pharmaceutical industry, which is what we're caught up in now, supported by, the governments and vice versa. I mean, we're talking about lobby efforts that put these politicians into positions with 20% of the electorate, as I said. And let me just go back there for a quick second, because I started on that and then I kind of alluded away from it. But 58% of the total eligible voters voted. That means that 42% have already said, to hell with this. I don't need anything to do with this gong show because it's not doing any difference anyway. And I believe that. It wouldn't have made any difference if the conservative goofball would have got in there either. It doesn't matter to me. And I don't think he had no policy that was any different anyway. He's talking the same shit. Just a little bit of a twist on that socialism versus capitalism bullshit story. And that's all just bullshit, okay? Same side of the same coin with two sides, right? So the 58% and then the 42% that said, to hell with it, I'm not going wasting my time on that. And then you bring that down to the 32% that favored the Liberal Party, which was what put Trudeau back into office. If you do those two figures, 58 and then 32, you come up with less than 20% of the eligible voters. So that's all I wanted to add to that little bit. But you know that, let's now back onto the pharmaceutical industry again, right? So what has happened here now? Okay, what has happened? The two of them, okay, and it kind of looks like this when you think of the pharmaceutical thing with the snake that's going up to the top. You know how they have that on the medical insignia, the symbolism.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
One is pharmacy, one is government, and guess what? They clung to each other to get us to this point, right? Get us to this point. You guys come up with something on the pharmaceutical side, and we'll support you, and we'll mandate it, and we'll hammer it home. And then as soon as we hammer it home, we'll say, "Kumbaya, everybody, come down to our party, as long as you do everything that we tell you to do. Come and let's reunite and join together." It's all these politicians are puppeting right now. What a bunch of garbage. I mean, God almighty. Take responsibility for your body, for your temple. That's what it is, your kingdom of heaven, which is right here, your temple, and take responsibility for it. Drink healthy water. This water, I can see to the bottom of it. If I look out there 20 feet, I can still see to the bottom of it. It's that clear. It's beautiful, crystal clear water coming out of the mountains. And this is after the whole summer of rains, okay? This isn't from the glaciers in the spring and in the winter. This is, you know, runoff water, a lot of it. And it's still crystal clear. And there are people promoting the idea that we put chemicals into that water, like fluoride. Are you freaking kidding me? In a city like this, like that is so insane. Talk about 20%. Now we're going to be talking about maybe 5% that are going to try and hammer that into the minds and the pineal gland or pineal gland, however you want to say it, of the masses. Sorry, I'm on a rant there. I did that last week. So.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice the universe was trying to tell us something. The moment you mentioned fluoride or adding chemicals to the water, a siren went off. It's like, that's all we heard for a split second. We heard that siren before we heard you say your next word. It couldn't have been timed any better than that. So that's hilarious.
William, let me hold you up there, because
Yeah,
the last question was about timing.
Yep.
And that is the magnificence of recognizing the divinity, okay? And I say that to everybody. Oh, we're going to look to the white hats. We're going to look to these Trump audits. We're going to look to when the banks make this switch back to asset-backed banking. It's all happening in perfect timing, because the creator who created this beautiful, magnificent plane of existence, this heavenly earth that we live on, that the men and women on the land live on, that creator created everything perfect. And it's still perfect, okay? And in spite of manipulation, manifestation of man, you know, and governments, government being the mind control, govern, control, mente, mind. It's all in our face, folks. And between all of that manifestation, there is still perfection playing out. If we didn't have bad guys, we wouldn't see the good, okay? If we didn't have wrongs, we wouldn't see the right. So it's all playing out in perfect timing. And when it happens is going to be the perfect now moment.
The other thought I had as you were answering the question before the siren was what occurred to me was you never said it, but to me it was almost like speaking from what you were saying. It's almost like you were the water planting the seed, and the seed was kind of growing into this beautiful plant. But what I thought was that a vote for Randall is a vote for yourself. It's a vote for your sovereignty. It's a vote for taking back your power. It's not about voting for somebody else that they can save you. It's about really claiming your own sovereignty. And I thought that was important for me. I get goosebumps just saying that. Important for me to share that with you. I don't know how it lands for you, but man, it like I said, it gave me goosebumps.
Thank you, brother. And that's the truth. Like, I'm here for the people, and there's no question about that. I'm here to lead people to sovereignty and to teach them sovereignty if they want to learn, if they want to, you know, go back to the old government ways, then it's up to them too, and have someone else tell them what to do. But I'm not going to tell them what to do. I'm going to lead them. Everyone knows about the holistic medical industry versus the allopathic medical industry. Everybody knows that. Okay, you know the opportunities. I am a cancer survivor, not in the hospital, never took an ounce of medication for it. I had liver cancer. I healed it in the holopathic medicinal realms, okay? A lot of mental work, but also some, work with holistic medicines. And, I don't know what to say. Like that's what I'm here for. I know that I'm here to lead this city. And if people are, I don't like using the awake. If they're alert enough, we need a lot more alerts out there. But if they're alert enough in the moment to hear what I'm saying, to read our book, and as I said earlier in the show, and we can end it pretty soon here, William, if you don't mind, because I got to keep going. But the book is there. We wrote a book, William and I, and a lady in the UK named Danusha, who's the author, wrote a book that talks of all the things that we're speaking of, right? And that book is available on ebook. However, if you don't think you can afford that, if you don't think that you can afford that book, which we're going to put a paperback cover on, hopefully by next week, and you can buy it in paperback as well. But somebody has to pay for that, right? And I'm not planning on paying for everybody's book. But if you cannot afford it, please email me and we'll send you the PDF. kaiser.randy@gmail.com. How many other politicians are out there offering that? A free book to tell you about their life and how they learned about sovereignty and about the banking system and the back end of the banking system and how it runs. KAISER.RANDY@gmail.com if you want that book.
I will put that in as well as the link to the book, and it's on Amazon, just so everyone knows. Currently in an ebook format only. Randall is correct. We're working on getting it into a paperback version that you'll be able to order. We're hoping to finish that last few steps tonight. And if the system goes well as far as getting it online, then it could be even available as early as tomorrow if all things work out. So that will be there. It'll be ready. And you at least have the ebook. The cost of the book, $9.99. In case you can't afford it, you'll have Randy's email that you can send him an email to. But please don't just ask for a free book if you can actually pay for it. There's people that spent time and energy on this book that do want to have some reward for the work that they put in. So only if you absolutely can't get the book, please, you can reach out to Randall there. Randall, I have a crap ton more questions to ask you, but I do know that your time is going to be more and more precious as we get between now and the 18th. I think this is probably the best place to stop because we mentioned the book. We talked about a bunch of different key things. I mean, the power really does rely and fall back on the shoulder of every single resident. I wouldn't call it resident person. I can't even call it person. See, the words are so hard to find the right words, but a member of the people of Calgary. How about that? Okay. If you're a member of the people of Calgary, then claim your power, take it on yourself and say, okay, I want to see life different. I want abundance, not just for me. I want abundance for all. And this is the only guy I know that's talking about that and talking about shaking out the system in a big way. So Randall, I have nothing else unless you have any comments to anything I just said. Otherwise, if you would be kind enough to wrap it up with that wonderful blessing of yours, we'll call it a day.
Thank you, brother. That was a great meeting, and I always respect and honor your position in this, William. It's not very many people that would stand beside me the way that you have for 26 weeks. Is it now?
26. Yep.
And hung in there this long without a cent in your pocket either. It's just, that's what it's about. And I guess I'll finish it on that note. Like, there's signs all over the city, and it's just, one guy says to me the other day, he says, "Oh, you're a banker. Well, then you come up with $250,000 for me throw yourself in with me and I'll win this thing because I need 250,000. All it's about is facial recognition. He's not even giving the people of Calgary the benefit of the doubt that they can think. All they're going to do is vote because they seen his picture. Come on. You know, like, I'm not going to say who that was, but that was pretty lame. But, you know, we'll get some signs up when the time is right. Again, Divine Source Energy puts it in front of me, and then we have the funding to do it. Don't have it right now, but it'll come when it's supposed to. I've been doing this whole thing on faith and on love for God Almighty and for all the human beings, all the people of Calgary, and I'm not going to change my ways. So, with peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on mine and William's minds. Abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria. Go have some fun, you folks, and just enjoy yourselves. And in the moment, knowing that if we stay in the moment, don't get drawn into the fear, we will succeed. And we have succeeded. And everything is changing beyond your wildest dreams. We love you. Thanks, William. I love you, brother.
Much love to everyone. You too.